So the best news to start off this video, I finally have a converter. You would have seen in the last video, I got the call that it was ready, so I went and picked it up. So now you can see I had ordered a 9.5-inch Dominator. They made this to suit the car, so I just gave them compression, cam specs, diff specs, tyre size, every single spec they can take to make this converter absolutely perfect and to suit this car. And I'm hoping that it fits, no spaces, you know, I told them left-hand starter, what engine, all that crap, so this should fit with no spaces, no collar, no nothing on the standard flex plate. So as you can see on the bottom, they have this big add-on to take up the difference, so, and an extended snout, so hopefully this all fits perfectly. I can put the box on for the last time, and pretty much this engine can go back in now, because that is the only thing I was waiting for. God, this thing's heavy. There we go, that should be seated and ready to put back together. Now this is the pain in the ass part, doing by yourself, but these trolley things make an amazing difference. I can hear the postman, so hopefully Safiro parts. Yep, it was Safiro parts. So this is the studs and stuff to put the exhaust manifold back together, which was probably last week's video. So these videos are all a bit all over the place when I'm doing too many cars at once. Anyway, back to the VM. Oh yeah, would you look at that? Perfect. Snout sits in the middle of the crank. Tiniest little gap there, which will pull together when you do the bolts up. The Dominator came through. Perfect, absolutely perfect. No spaces, no nothing. And now you'll understand why I suggest, well actually my transmission guy suggested, to do a really thick cast sump to protect these casings, because these are prone to cracking. And on an LS you only run 1, 2, 3, that's blank, 4, 5 on the top, and then the bottom is open. So there's not much holding those two together, prone to cracking, so put one of those really thick cast cases on the bottom to strengthen the case itself. Now next on the list of things for today, the amount of people that kept saying to me, I can't believe you did this engine so clean, everything looks brand new, and you left the rocker covers. Please paint them, blah, blah, blah. Of course I was gonna paint them. Relax, guys. I was waiting to get these fittings welded on. So Troy at Project Performance welded these dash 10s onto my rocker covers, the standard LS ones. And I also, if you have a look at your rocker covers, you'll see down the edge here, really bad casting marks, like they're cast pretty shitty from factory, so I cleaned those up with a file, sanded them all down nice. Troy welded those fittings on for me, and I was going to powder coat these, that was the plan, but with these baffles here, these are plastic, so I'm not confident that they will come back looking like that, because when you powder coat something, it's all with heat, so I'm worried that they would melt, and you sort of can't remove them, so I just decided to paint them. You know, I did them properly. They come out really good. So I'm super happy with those. I'm just going to fit all new seals for the bolts, new rocker cover gaskets, and we can put them on the engine for the last time. That's it. That's pretty much the final form of this engine. These look great. These come out really good, actually. So if you take your time and prep them properly, spray cans, you can do a really good job. I'll obviously torque these up later. I can't do up the converter bolts, it's just way too hard to get through here. So when I lift it up on the crane, I'll do it, or do it in the car when it's already in there. Plus, I don't have the right size socket to turn the crank over to spin the flywheel, so that's not gonna happen right now. Currently 7:30 in the morning and this is going down finally. So I'm just waiting for John and Daniel to come. I'm still half asleep. And hopefully we can get this in today. Definitely need more than one person, you know, holding headers, got to get the steering shaft through the header tubes, you know, lifting box from underneath, blah, blah, blah. Now, we were going to do this from minis with a hoist, but it was just too hard. He's just too chockers with the cars. I don't want to be that annoying mate as well that's, you know, stuffing him around, so we're just going to do it here with a couple of people, so here we go finally. Believe it or not, this engine is finally back in. So massive thanks to John and Daniel for helping me. It's definitely not a one-person job. As you saw, you have to sort of sit the headers in on each side, one person on each side, one person on the crane. Anyway, it was a bit of a stuff around, but we got it there in the end. The only problems we're having is the steering shaft bolts down there on the collar. One of them hits the headers when you turn, so we've had them in, out, machining them down more and more each time, but it still hit, so we sort of just gave up over it, so I'm gonna have to keep sort of machining that down. These headers do sit a shitload better than the last ones. So it's got no cross member in it at the moment, but as you can see, once it's tilted up, they should sit pretty much in line with the rail. Now this was never gonna be just a put it back in, connect everything up and turn the key. There's a lot of things I still want to change before I start this up for the first time. I'm toying with getting rid of this and going an Astra pump, having it mounted under here or somewhere here. Apparently they can fit. I'm not sure whether I want to do that yet, so I haven't got, you know, fittings for power steering lines because I don't know what I'm doing yet. Another thing I want to do is get rid of this. So with this radiator, what most people do is go a VL1, which the outlets are opposite, I'm pretty sure. So this one's at the top and that one's at the bottom, so it gets rid of that big hose. But then you got to run a hose from this side all the way across. So now I will correct myself with the VL radiator comment, because people love to jump on the keyboard as soon as you say something wrong on YouTube. What a fucking idiot. He reckons the VL radiators, the outlets are on the other side. You are an idiot. You should go F yourself. You are so stupid. I hate you so much. Get off YouTube, you idiot. Like that, like you've just killed a puppy. Now I understand a VL radiator would work, but I already have the radiator that I have, so it's easier for me to just move the outlet on the bottom to the other side like a VL1 would be. So what I'm gonna do with this radiator is have Troy block this, plate it, and move this to here so both the outlets are on one side to match the LS, because as you can see, they're both on this side. So that'll get rid of that junk that's like held up with, I don't know, brackets you'd use to make a fence or some shit. Who knows what they were thinking when they put this car together. Another thing I want to change is all this fuel line setup. So what they got down there is the reg used to be here on the firewall with some lines here that pretty much they have fittings just off the standard hard lines. Now with these headers, as most people know, if you've got an LS powered, like older Commodore, hopefully you can see how close the fuel lines are to the headers. They're pretty much on them. So I'm not keen on that really, even though they're hard lines and it probably won't be a problem. So what we're gonna do is chop the hard lines here and run new lines all the way up here, under the car, up through here. And we're going to do two bulkhead fittings here and here. So they'll come through there with 45s and straight up here, and we're gonna mount the fuel reg directly onto the rail like that. So there's no line between it, just directly onto the rail. So it gets rid of a lot of crap sort of that was over here. It's a lot of money just to clean up some fuel lines, but because there's a shitload of fittings you need to do, which Daniel figured out for me yesterday. So we've got our list here of all the fittings I need to go buy and hose. So I'll go get that at some point. That'll probably be an episode in itself, just doing the new fuel stuff. And obviously run the one across the front here. I want to chop this because that's useless cruise control. Gonna pull the throttle body off and get rid of these because we're not using them anymore. And this one as well, that's useless. As you can see how gunky inside this engine was. So probably clean out this throttle body too. I'm gonna thread that and just put like a bung in it to block it. So if you ever want to use it down the track. And that's about it. I'm going to button up a few things. I'm pretty sure my exhaust is going to fit back up, which would be very, very good. There's a couple of suspension bits that I actually didn't tighten up because I assumed I was dropping the front back out of this thing. I can put the sway bar and end links back in. Got all new bushes for that stuff. Got rid of the big, ugly standard heater hoses that came over here. I think we're going to run ones just off here and down the rail and up to the heater. Not sure on that yet. I might just block them. But it would be nice to have a heater. And I still have no cross member. I did have one lined up for the Turbo 350, but that person vanished off the face of the earth. So if anyone has a used one, let me know, or else I'm just gonna order a brand new one from Muscle Garage. Tail shaft does need to be modified, needs to go a bit longer. Like it's a 2-piece, so they can just do the front half, which is good. Apart from that, I'm just gonna start bolting little bits and pieces back on. And the best thing about putting this engine back in is there's no crap all lining the sides of my garage anymore, and I can get rid of this engine crane and stand, and I'm gonna have a shitload more room in this, unfortunately, single car garage. So in the meantime of doing the rest of this video, I have decided to do the Astro Power Steering Pump. So I just went and picked up from a local wrecker, literally 5 minutes from me. Just gave me the whole system, rack, ends, pump, wiring, and all the lines and all that stuff are very, very cheap, which was good. Most of this is gonna go in the bin. I just need that with the wiring. I'm gonna pull it apart, clean it, and see where this will actually fit on the car, because it is pretty tall and you need to be able to fill it from the top as well, so it might be a little bit tricky. So this is all cleaned up nice, drained all the fluid out of it. Now there's two spots where you could really end up putting this thing. One is here, obviously behind the passenger front guard. Ideally, the best would be this side because that's what side the fittings are on the rack, so it would make the lines short and very easy, but the pump is that tall, it would sit like down here. So I don't think that's gonna work. The other spot that I've seen a fair few people do is just in the boot here. It does make the lines very long and you do have to drill holes, which I don't like, but I think that's probably going to be the best bet, that spot there. Now, I'm not doing that this video. Probably could do a video on that by itself. So I might do that in the future when I get around to it. So now I can get rid of this stuff. I can get rid of this bracket, get rid of the pump, and the belt just ends up going from here across and then around that and here, and you change this to a ribbed pulley, which I'm pretty sure I have, that came in that underdrive pulley set, so I can just swap those over. And obviously a shorter belt, so we'll see what we do there. If anyone watching needs an Astra power steering rack, hit me up cheap. Two things I'm really pumped about with this VN being close to finished is one, well, driving it again, but one, putting the bonnet back on with fresh paint, because the front of this thing has always been shit, and since getting it painted, it hasn't been back on yet. And two, putting the car back down on the ground so I can see the new front height, because you remember I changed the front springs. So today I'm going to tackle the bonnet. I did have this just sitting at the panel shop because I didn't want it to get damaged, but the car's close now, so I went and grabbed it. I got all this stuff re-anodized for the bonnet, the spring, all the bolts and all that stuff. I'm going to clean all this stuff. I got this anodized black. So I'm going to clean all this stuff and start putting it back together. How good does that look? Everything clean or re-anodized and put back on, freshly painted bonnet. God, I love this stuff. My ideal job would be like putting cars back together like this. It's so amazing. I love the finished product. So I think that's going to be it for this one, guys. Probably fuel system next on this, and it could be running, I don't know, a couple more bits and pieces. It's hard because, you know, everything's expensive. I can't just pile thousands of dollars into parts every single week to make videos, so sort of just putt along. So be patient for me to get the van running. Don't forget to buy stickers to go in the running for the giveaway I mentioned, and I will see you guys next week.